Good afternoon. This is Sarah from Hanish, the American in Exile. Today is November the 18th, 2024, and the news of the day is that Biden the imposter authorized the use of ATACMS missiles, which are somewhat long range, 190 miles, to be used to strike territory deep inside Russia. This is a move that comes after the election of President Trump back to the White House, and it is also a move that comes after Zelensky was kicking and screaming for a long time asking for this authorization. What I intend to do is to weigh in on this issue and to talk about, it's going to be a little bit speculative, but right now that's about all we can do, speculate on possible moves and counter moves that can be made. One, this issue sounds extraordinarily serious. What is interesting is that Fox News does not show any coverage of this issue at all on its front spread until you scroll pretty far down to retired Lieutenant Colonel on Biden allowing Ukraine to strike Russia with U.S. weapons. So this piece is gradually creeping up the list in Fox. Earlier I looked at it and I couldn't find it at all on the splash page. I had to go into the World section. Newsmax has it on the front. It's the banner. Biden lifts ban on Ukraine using U.S. arms to strike inside Russia. And it's, this is probably as it should be. I think it's very important. And CNN also has it, and their headline is very interesting. Biden just raised the stakes in a war Trump will inherit. Now, Alexander Mercouris of the Duran, my chief editor, did an excellent bit last night on this. The video's up today about how this move was made by Biden purposely to spite Trump and to interfere with any efforts he does to try to end the war when he takes the presidency on January 20th in the year to come. So in about 2 months and a half. This is an assessment. I also believe that it is an incredibly spiteful move towards President Trump, but it's more than that. Let's take this to its furthest possible conclusion. President Putin has promised, and President Putin has warned that in the event of any long-range NATO weapon strike into the territory of the Russian Federation, that not only will the Ukrainians who fired the missile be held accountable for it, but also, since the data for targeting these long-range missiles invariably comes from the United States or from Great Britain and or France, basically NATO countries, Russia reserves the right to retaliate in kind against not only Ukraine, but against those NATO states themselves. Stand by. In a very real way, this outcome could be as simple as, say, an ATACMS missile goes in, hits someplace like in Moscow or someplace like that, or some important target within the 190-mile range of the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk, for example, which can get pretty far. And Moscow retaliates by striking a U.S. target. What happens then? Further, this move has emboldened the very, very warlike Keir Starmer in Great Britain and Emmanuel Macron in France and their governments to also authorize the use of their long-range weapon systems, whose guidance, I believe, is also controlled by the United States because it's NATO weaponry. And that can bring repercussions against Britain and France. And that could trigger an Article 5 situation, according to the NATO compact, which would say that an attack against one NATO member is an attack against NATO, and all NATO countries must unite to fight against Russia. So this is an extraordinarily dangerous move. It is intended, if it were just one country, it would be easy to isolate. You know, if it were just France, if it were just Britain, it would be easy to isolate the reaction to that country and that country alone. But now we've got three. And the three happens because Biden actually decided to go ahead and let the United States do this, and that will be open season for the other two aggressive countries to do so. So this makes it basically where all of NATO is held hostage by the whims of three madmen, you know, which I'm going to call them. Biden has executed an act of utter and complete madness against his own people of the United States of America, against all of the European nations, and against Russia. And this is something that I will not be able to find strong enough words to condemn. But this is a dastardly move. And I said dastardly, not dastardly. It is dastardly as well. But it is intended to make life difficult for one Donald J. Trump, who is supposed to take the presidency in a couple of months. Now, this explains a lot. You know, some of us were wondering, why does Biden seem so happy now that the election is over? Why does he seem so happy? He seems like a big load is lifted off his shoulders. Why was he so cordial and welcoming to the president-elect when he came to the White House last week? Well, this might be why. Because there is a plan. And the plan is to draw the United States so deep into the war that it cannot get out, just by simple acts of reciprocity between the United States, the Russian Federation, and NATO members. It can go easily in this situation. Escalation leads to escalation, leads to escalation, and boom, World War III. Trump would not be able to stop it. He might not even be alive long enough to take the presidency because all of us might be gone by that point. It could get that bad that quickly. That is something that I'm saying that should be put out there, because I'm sure that for a large part, most media outlets will not go to this place. Fox News' reticence in lifting this piece of news to prominent position, front page position on its website, speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about the network's attitude at the high levels against President Trump, even though many of the people that work at Fox are absolutely supportive of him. Doesn't matter what do the Murdochs say. And as for CNN and Newsmax, they are spurred by their own motivations. Naturally, this piece is a top headline piece in RT and in Sputnik, as it should be, and because this directly applies to Russia. And, you know, I have to say that depending on the situation and the range of the weaponry used, ATACMS may not reach Moscow, but some of the other ones might be able to. If long-range Tomahawks were brought into play, then those could probably reach Moscow from forward bases in the Kursk incursion area, or even from mainland Ukraine. So it is potentially very serious. That World War III is the ultimate, I think it is semi-consciously the ultimate goal of President Biden. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. We're all going down. So I want the viewers of this video in the United States to do something that I am going to do also. I want you to melt the lines with your representatives, your senators, and with the White House phone system, and say that this needs to be a decision that is reversed right away, because the American people have spoken as to who they want to lead the country, And I think all of us really want there to be a country to be led. And so this move is absolutely insane and must be reversed. I will be making these phone calls after I finish this report. The second thing that can be done, not only in terms of calling the White House and Senate and congressmen, is go public with it. Make a big stir out of it. Make it the topics of radio stations or whatever. Anyway, and get people to understand what Mr. Biden has just done, because he's basically taken all of the American people and said, you know what, I don't really give a crap about you, and I'm going to subject you to the possibility of annihilation just because I feel like it. This is what he has done. I would say that this is an Article 25 issue if there ever was. If there ever was an Article 25 issue, this is certainly one, because the leader, whether he is legitimate or not, the resident of the White House holding the office of the President of the United States has just exhibited an act of complete insanity that puts the entire country and the lives of its citizens at risk. Do not doubt me, it could go that bad. And so for that reason, I think Article 25 would probably be a good reason. What does that give us? That gives us Kamala. But it also gives us a very strong message that she better not do the same thing. And as she doesn't really like Zelensky very much, it's quite possible that she will not do something so inept as and so dangerous as what her boss just did. Okay, so let's talk about other possible reactions to this. One is that President Putin, who is, as we say in Russia, he is разумный, meaning he is essentially sane in his thinking. He may look at this and look at the logistics on the ground, as Alexander McCurris talked about, and note these following issues. One is that the supply of ATACMS rockets is rather limited right now. Ukraine has been given quite a few of them. They've used most of them up. There do not seem to be a vast quantity of these devices in storage anywhere to be sent to Ukraine. So there may not be all that many of these particular long-range rockets to actually fire. Second, President Putin would probably also be smart enough to understand that this is clearly a move to interfere with President Trump's efforts to end the war. And President Putin wants to end the war. So what he may decide to do is he may decide to do nothing. He may decide just simply to make sure that the Russian military forces are committed to shooting down anything that is incoming. They have the technology and the capability of doing this and being quite successful. They will probably proactively redouble their strike efforts into Ukraine, and with the Kursk offensive incursion, however you want to call it, their efforts to drive the Ukrainians out of the occupied region. So thereby pushing back their effective range of operations for launches and stuff like that. This could yield some very, very, for example, very active military operations over the Kursk region. It'd be kind of hard on the people there, but it would also be really hard on the Ukrainians and get them out of that region. So Russia can't, a good defense is often the best offense, and a good offense is often the best defense. The Russian forces are on the offensive in Ukraine. They are taking territory pretty much every day. The progress of the operation on the regularly understood front is moving quite well. If you're a Russian fan, Russian supporter, then in looking at what the Russian armed forces are doing, it's pretty effective combat operations that are taking place. So President Putin may simply choose to ignore it. I think he might have a difficult time in the event that Britain and France do some incursions, because he's going to have to weigh the gamble of Article 5. One of the things that could happen is that President-elect Trump, could simply say this: in my administration, I will not support nor back any moves by Great Britain, France, or any other powers to use their long-range weapons against Russia, because I want to stop the war. This might give a good warning, because it says both to Russia that Trump is committed to stopping the war, and two, that he is not going to follow the Article 5 protocols in the case of Russia striking back at Great Britain or France. This would probably end up isolating those two countries, and that might give them a noticeable moment of pause before they actually try to do something, even now. Because right now, although Trump is not president, Biden, if he were to say something like this, Biden's visible refusal to do something to end the war would become that much more prominent, and it would probably increase some pressure on Biden not to condone such attacks as well. It's difficult to tell, because as Trump is razume, Biden is bezume. He is absolutely insane, as we have said before. So these are actions that could be taken to prevent the usual reciprocity escalation, the escalation escalator, as Alexander McCurse likes to call it. It's certainly preventable. I did an interview about a week and a half ago with Первый канал, the first channel in Russia. It's a national network. And one of the questions they asked me was, do you think that Americans and Russians can get along together? And I said, yes, they can, and they do. They absolutely can. We are brother nations. We should be brother nations, because of all the nations in the world, the United States and Russia have some of the biggest similarities. We are both very proud of our countries. We love our homes. We love our culture, even when it's bad. Sometimes we love it too. We both are countries with whom there's primarily one language. We have similar attitudes about that kind of thing. And the technical accomplishments, musical accomplishments. I mean, geez, we share the same patriotic music. Same exact thing. Tchaikovsky Overture of 1812. Go figure. And even though the overture is admired for two different reasons, because in those days the United States of America and the Russian Empire were on opposite sides of the fight, more or less. This piece of work is inspiration to both of us. So we have a lot in common. We have a lot more in common than that. But the situation that is being forced on all of us is extremely unnatural, given the similarities of our cultures and our interest in one another. So I think that's about all I have. This is a potentially very serious story. If it weren't so serious, it would almost be laughable. But the things that we really have to take away from this are the insanity of the resident of the White House at this present time. This has now been made a known fact. I'm not quite sure how quickly the American journalist community is going to cotton on to this. I don't think they will, but they might. I think President Trump will catch on to it. I think Elon will catch on to it. This report came in rather early in the morning for me, so it was probably late evening, Sunday evening in American time, just when probably a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. So when you see this report, you're going to be waking up to rather bad news. There is no particular state of belligerence among the Russian people towards the United States. but they are getting sick of it. Okay. Sometimes it's just like what happened with Ukraine for many years, before Maidan and after Maidan, and before the present military operation started. The attitude of the Russians towards the Ukrainians was, these are our brothers, but there's something wrong with them. They've gone crazy. We don't understand why. We feel sad for them. We tolerate them. We love them, but we feel sad for them. And eventually, feeling sad wasn't enough. And so that's when this SMO started. You feel sad for your insane brother, but your insane brother is trying to shoot you. He must be stopped. Don't want to kill him, but, he's got to be stopped. Otherwise, I'm the one that's dead. So this kind of reaction can be building here about the West and about the United States, because even now, while Russian people continue to commute back and forth between here and other European countries and the United States, as much as possible, they certainly do this. There's just a limit. There's just a limit. I don't want to see that limit reached for several reasons. One, I'm an American. I am a Russian citizen too, but I'm an American living in Moscow. Primary target. I would really rather not get vaporized. Thank you very much. And worse, by my own weapons. By my own country's weapons. That just makes me feel bonkers when I think about that. Think about that. How would you like to be bombed by your own weapons? There are many Americans living in Moscow. Some of you guys have heard me say this. Maybe if you're new viewers, you don't know this, but we have relations with a lot of people here. Many of us are married to Russians. Many of us are simply here because we like it. Many of us are here pursuing teaching careers, or we're just learning about the culture. There's any number of reasons, and it's not only Americans; it's Canadians. Some people have moved here on the religious visa. A few weeks ago, I met with Maria Butina, and we were talking. She was the one who was arrested in the United States for going to NRA gun shows on a FARA violation, and she was in prison for a while and then deported to Russia. She's now a deputy in the State Duma, and she held a meeting with many of us to try to determine how to best implement what is now called the spiritual visa in Russia, where people that live in countries who are accepting non-traditional ways of life, non-Christian, anti-Christian, unfriendly countries to Russia, but people who want to come here, whether it is just for a little bit of refuge, a little bit of breathing room, or actually to start a life permanently in the Russian Federation. This visa allows a much accelerated process of getting temporary and permanent residency and onwards towards citizenship in the Russian Federation. So I was meeting with her and with some other Americans and Brits and people from other places in the world, including Ukraine and Germany. And, this lady was doing her best to try to make things attractive and easy for foreigners to come here and get some breathing room. Russia has no hostility against anybody. You can come, you can go. They welcome everybody. I wish I could say the same for the United States when I can't even get a visa for my wife. I'm an American, our kids are American, dual citizens, Russians, and I can't get a visa for my wife because the U.S. Embassy is too prejudiced. They asked her the question in Kazakhstan, at the American Embassy there. They asked her the question, are you afraid to go back to Russia? Naturally, she said no. Why should she be afraid to go back to Russia? It's her home. It's everything that she knows. And she's more afraid to go to the United States, even for a visit, because of all the crazy things she sees from there. But she's not afraid to go back to Russia. Okay, you can't be approved. Slam the window. That's it. Right? Land of the free, home of the brave. Or is it land of the prejudiced? That's the kind of stuff that's going on. Some Russians do get visas. Some of them don't, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble, and it's the most ridiculous reasoning why. When we're just looking for a tourist visa so she can see the country, see my family, see my friends, see what it's like, and then come back home. I hope President Trump fixes this. So, you know, you all, I hope that all of you that hear this, I hope you're as inflamed as possible because, you know, there's something wrong with that. I think that's plain prejudice in action. Okay, so enough about that. Anyway, again, Sarah from Hanish, American in Exile, for an unusually short video. I wish you all a great day. Please comment, subscribe, disagree, agree, whatever you want. Just get the word out. Thanks. Have a great day. God be with you.